this bill is asking for is that do not dare to assemble and exercise your First Amendment. We have seen many times where law enforcement consciously arouses peaceful protesters and then be the one to spark the riot. And we are asking these protesters to be punishable up to 20 years.
House Democrats verbally protest legislation that would make rioting a felony. Good evening and welcome to Lawmakers on Georgia Legislative Day 26. I'm Donna Lowry. More on the busy day in the House and Senate coming up. If you're among those who felt election fatigue because of the number of runoffs in Georgia last year, a legislator joins us who wants to reduce the number of runoffs. There's also legislation to allow parents with children under 5 to avoid the long lines at election precincts. And if you enjoy farmers markets, there's a bill to create a farmers market authority to oversee them in Georgia. We'll take a look at a bill that would allow for heavier trucks on the road to carry more produce. And a legislator is here to join us in the studio to talk about agriculture legislation. But first, let's get right down to the Gold Dome for news of the day from our Capitol correspondent, Rochelle Ritchie. Rochelle?
Hi, Donna. Well, today the House focused heavily on increasing penalties for those that riot or cause damage to a police car. And in the Senate, a bill is now heading to the governor's desk, which would require pregnant women to be tested for sexually transmitted diseases. A lengthy debate on the House floor concerning House Bill 505, which will increase the penalty for rioting from a misdemeanor to a felony, punishable of up to 20 years in prison.
Our governor and our attorney general have made it clear that Georgia will provide no safe haven to rioters. This legislation puts that vision into state law and sends a signal to troublemakers throughout the country that they won't get a slap on the wrist if they come here and engage in rioting. We will prosecute the violent in order to protect the peaceful and innocent.
Democrat members say the bill impedes on First Amendment rights and worry that based on the current definition of rioting, which is defined as any 2 or more persons who shall do an unlawful act of violence or any other act in a violent and tumultuous manner, commit the offense of riot. It will negatively impact those who are involved in violent acts not related to a protest.
Do not dare to assemble and exercise your First Amendment. We have seen many times where law enforcement consciously arouses peaceful protesters and then be the one to spark the riot. And we are asking these protesters to be punishable up to 20 years.
But House Bill 505 could also negatively impact others outside of the poor and minorities. Multiple kids can be vulnerable. A child watching a fight, which many of us have probably done in the past, could be detained for up to a year. Think about that. And I know that we oftentimes choose sides in the people's house, but immaturity is bipartisan. A lapse in judgment is bipartisan, but it won't stop at just kids. This bill could also have an impact on someone at a football game, potentially at a tailgate, should their actions rise to what this definition says is a riot. This is a bad policy with clear legal implications that threatens to harm the lives of Georgians based on self-ambitious politics of trying to look tough on crime.
The bill passed 98 to 73. A cousin to House Bill 505, House Bill 500 will make arson of a law enforcement vehicle punishable to 5 to 20 years in prison or a fine of up to $100,000. Questions on the necessity of the bill were raised by Democrats.
I'm curious, isn't arson already a crime in Georgia?
Yes, it is.
So what exactly is this bill doing that is not already done in the state of Georgia?
Well, again, as I was trying to explain, Representative Clark, because these vehicles are increasingly hard to replace and are increasingly more expensive, I think it's important that we have a special crime for this, because this is taking a car is our policeman's primary tool out of service. And many counties may only have 2 or 3 patrol cars at their disposal. And so you're not only just taking a car out of service, you're taking a tool that is protecting people, many, many people, out of service.
Representative Chris Irwin presented House Bill 338, the Quality Basic Education Act, which aims to revise requirements for internet safety policies in public schools.
What we are attempting to do here is to make sure that predators aren't able to get on the devices that we are handing our children, as well as inappropriate or not grade appropriate material is not able to be accessed through the devices that our children carry home with them.
The bill passed unanimously. The Senate took up SB 32, also known as Alyssa's Law, this afternoon. The bill is named after a student killed during the Margaret Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in 2018. Similar laws have been passed in other states.
Alyssa's Law requires public schools to provide classrooms with mobile panic alarm technology. Mobile or silent panic alarm technology is an emergency alert system that allows for immediate contact with first responders that can be triggered discreetly, such as a wearable alarm button like those that are currently deployed in our schools around the state, and including most recently the state capitol.
The bill's sponsor says $50,000 proposed in the governor's budget for school safety could help pay for the new system.
Does this mandate that schools have to implement some type of mobile panic device across the board?
Yes, if you do not have a school security system in place, which, you know, there's variations of it. I know APS in my school district in Polk County, Georgia, has this system. You do not have to change what you're doing. And then, for example, that $50,000 can be used for other security mechanisms or upgrades in your school district to keep them safe.
Testing pregnant women for sexually transmitted diseases at their first prenatal examination would be required with Senate Bill 46. The bill's sponsor says a recent rise in syphilis cases triggered the need for the law, and it's vital for fetal health.
If it's not treated in the womb, it can have irreversible effects. Up to 40% in some areas don't survive. The lung bones don't form, severe anemia, brain and nerve problems, blindness, deafness, enlarged spleen and liver, and many other things. And so they will then be wards of the state. And while we'd been following this increase with alarm here, 2 days before I presented the bill in the Health Committee, the story came out for the Mississippi paper that I put on your desk today, talking about their 900% increase in congenital syphilis.
All 3 bills passed with overwhelming support. And in some lighter news, today was Peanut Butter Jelly Day at the Capitol, and grilled PBJs were all the craze.
And also passing in the House today, House Bill 51, which would allow for students to be transported to activities, after school activities, through vehicles other than buses. That is my Capitol report. Donna, back to you.
Busy day. Thanks so much, Rochelle. We're going to focus now on some election bills. Joining me are Democratic Representatives Syra Draper of Atlanta, and joining us remotely is the AJC's Mark Nisi, who covers elections. Welcome to the show. Representative Draper, we're going to start with you. You have House Bill 419 to eliminate some of the runoff elections. Tell us more.
Yes, so thank you for having me here today, Donna. So my bill, House Bill 419, would eliminate unnecessary and expensive runoffs here in Georgia. Georgia is the only state in the nation that has runoffs both after the primary and after the general election. And runoffs are problematic for a couple of reasons. So runoffs they don't necessarily represent the will of the people, because we have a huge drop in participation between the original election and the runoff election. And they're extraordinarily expensive too. So our 2021 election runoff, where we had 2 Senate races on the ballot, cost over $75 million.
Wow. Let's talk about some of the specifics.
Sure.
It's not for, it's asking for plurality.
Yes, it is.
But still over 45%. So talk about some of that.
Correct. So the reason we have so many runoffs in Georgia is because we have a 50% requirement. A candidate has to get over 50% in order to avoid a runoff. Georgia is the outlier there. Most states just ask for a simple plurality. So what my bill would do is reduce that threshold from 50% to 45%. And that's really important because it accounts for the fact that in many of our statewide races that are very close, you might have a third-party candidate that comes in and has 1 or 2% of the vote, and that's enough to force the state to re-administer the election again, and that third-party candidate isn't even going to be part of that runoffs. So that 45% accounts for that possibility and says that in itself is not going to force us to rerun an election.
And that's general elections mostly.
Correct.
Or all of them. Yeah, just general elections. I want to get to Mark, because Mark, this is an area you covered. And I know that the AJC did a poll to ask people how they felt about runoff elections.
That's right. Our AJC poll in January found that 58% of Georgia voters surveyed said they would support eliminating runoffs after general elections and just settle the election on election day in November and not have runoffs. There was 39% who liked things the way it is, and the rest were undecided. But 58%, a solid majority, wanted to do away with general election runoffs, and that has led to Representative Draper's bill, but that bill has not really moved forward or gotten a hearing yet, and I'm not sure how much of an appetite there is among the leadership in the Georgia General Assembly to move forward with these proposals.
And we have Monday as crossover day, so you haven't heard anything on a possible...
I do have an update, actually.
Okay, please.
There will be a hearing on Friday in the Government Affairs Committee to consider this bill.
Okay, then. Well, Mark will be there, won't you, Mark? I'm sure you will.
I'll be watching.
That's absolutely. So I want to talk about something else, though. Representative Draper, you also have another bill, and it's an elections bill, and it encourages more parents to go to the polls. And, you know, we see the strollers and we see the little kids. Tell us about it.
Well, this bill is inspired by real life events. I'm the mom of 3 small children. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and I like to take them with me to vote. I think it's so important that we do that. Sometimes I have to do that as a mom, and I think people understand that. So what this bill would do is if you are a person who has a small child with you, 5 or under, it says you can go to the front of the line to vote. That's something that we already do for our voters who are over the age of 75 or have a disability, and I think this is a very logical extension of that, and I'm very proud to say we've got bipartisan support on this one.
So the support is there on that.
Absolutely.
Mark, what can you tell us about this bill?
Sure. What's really interesting is what they did in committee today, which is added in a provision to lower the age for older people to go to the front of the line from 75 to 70. So under this bill, if you're 70 or older, you could go to the front of the line, or if you have children under 5 years old, you could go to the front of the line. And it did have pretty broad bipartisan support in committee, and the next stop is to see whether it makes it for a vote in the full House.
Yeah, so you're feeling pretty good about that one.
I do feel pretty good. I think it's the values that we want to project to Georgia, that we want people to be able to vote.
Okay. Mark, I want to get back with you on other election bills. How many others, or can you mention some that might move through crossover day before Monday or on Monday?
Sure. Well, a large bill covering a variety of topics passed the Senate Ethics Committee last night. That is Senate Bill 221. This bill is primarily focused on enabling further challenges to voter eligibility by allowing voter challenges based entirely on change of address information. This is something that's been going on since 2020, where you have mostly conservative residents challenging the eligibility of other people, and it's up to county election boards to decide whether those people are in fact eligible or if they have moved to a different county, city, or state. And under this bill, it would make it a lot easier to challenge voters because it would enable election boards to rely entirely on change of address information, which can be unreliable when people move for college or take a temporary job, or might be snowbirds, or might be members of the military working overseas. And so that is one part of that bill. The bill does a lot of different things. It also, at the last minute, they added an amendment to the bill that would ban absentee ballot drop boxes entirely. Under Georgia's voting law passed 2 years ago, drop boxes were required to be inside polling places only open during advanced voting hours and under supervision. Now, this would do away with drop boxes entirely. The bill also requires the homeless to register at the address of the county courthouse, prohibits non-U.S. citizens from working in county election offices, requires audits after primaries, allows counties to use paper ballots, but only with permission of the state election board. So that is a big bill that passed 5-3 out of Senate Ethics Committee yesterday and could receive a vote sometime before the end of the day Monday. Another bill that is on the schedule for a vote tomorrow in the full Senate is a bill that would regulate donations from outside organizations. And this bill would prohibit county governments from taking money from anybody but the government. And this was an issue because primarily this organization called the Center for Tech and Civic Life, which took a lot of money from Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, gave money to a variety of counties, both Republican and Democrat. Although Democratic-leaning counties did receive more money than Republican counties, the center said it didn't discriminate. It gave this money to help them administer elections, especially during COVID, when there were a lot of poll closures and sanitation needs and record-breaking requests to use absentee ballots. Under this bill, donations could not be given to counties. They could still be given to the state government, and the state government could distribute them to counties if they decide on a system to do so. So those are the main bills that are going to be considered on the Senate side.
Yeah, I know the last one is called the Zuckerbucks bill because of Zuckerberg's name. There's one dealing with ballot boxes. Is that going anywhere?
We'll see.
Getting rid of them even.
Well, right. Getting rid of ballot drop boxes is in that bill I just mentioned. There's another one that deals with more security around ballot tracking and chain of custody precautions and filling out more and more paperwork at every step of the way. And we've seen that pop up in several bills. I wouldn't be surprised to see that included in some legislation that moves forward. There are differing opinions on that from election directors, but a lot of their feedback has been incorporated, and the restrictions, generally speaking, are less onerous than they were initially from a standpoint of how difficult it is to do these things, how much of a burden it is to add extra requirements to track ballots.
Okay, Mark, thank you so much for joining us remotely. Thank you so much, Representative Draper, for this is your first appearance on Lawmakers because you've only been here just a few weeks. Just
26 legislative days.
Okay, then. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll talk about a bill dealing with farmers markets, and we'll also learn about candor in healthcare.
Lawmakers is made possible by Georgia Farm Bureau. With over 80 years of helping everyone understand the importance of agriculture in our state. After all, ag is Georgia's #1 industry. Food and fiber production represents over $74 billion in output of Georgia's strong economy. The Georgia Farm Bureau legislative team works to represent producers across Georgia at the state capitol during the session and year-round. Georgia Farm Bureau, the voice of Georgia farmers.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
Kirsten had a lot of courage. She fought for Black culture.
They could have killed you. You're exactly what we need right now. Oh my God.
What is this?
She was poisoned. These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport on the PBS app.
We care about things that affect the lives of every American.
We are there at the front lines
to get to the heart of what really matters in every issue.
This country has not seen this in 80 years.
This extraordinary moment in American history.
You're making such a huge impact.
Trust is at the heart of what we do.
One of the easiest ways to support GPB is to become a monthly GPB sustainer. Your monthly support continues automatically month after month and supports not only the great programming that you love on GPB, but also our efforts in the community. GPB is committed to provide a trusted space for lifelong learning on the air, digitally and in person all across Georgia. All this is made possible with your monthly support. And we can't do it without you, so please donate right now at gpb.org/give. And thanks.
Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm Donna Lowry. We're going to talk about bills on a couple of different topics now, dealing with health care and healthy eating. Joining me are Republican Representative Robert Dickey of Musella, and he's chair of the House Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, and Representative Sharon Cooper of Marietta, and she's chair of the House Committee on Public Safety. Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm going to say to both of you, thank you so much. So, Chairman Dickey, we're going to start with you on something agricultural related. The Georgia Peanut Commission held Peanut Butter and Jelly Day at the Capitol today. It's always really popular, but especially because of those grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and you helped provide the jam.
We did. It was Georgia-grown peaches from my farm for those sandwiches this morning, grilled sandwiches, and great big hit. And our Georgia peanut growers are a big part of success of agriculture in our state.
I am so excited about that. It's the one thing about it is it's one of those things where just about everybody likes peanut butter and jelly. So
I think you're right. So it's a great product, great protein, and Georgia's grows more than any other state.
So people who want your peach jam, where do they get it?
Oh, well, they get it from Dickey Farms. And, we got a lot of great Georgia-grown products, and I hope folks look in their grocery stores for Georgia-grown.
Okay, well, let's keep going with agriculture, and you have a bill, HB 305, the Georgia Farmers Market Authority Act. So tell me why you wanted it first, and then we'll talk about where it is.
I want it because we really want to upgrade our farmers markets in our state. I'm working with our new Ag Commissioner, Tyler Harper. He's excited about it, and we have just put off upgrading our farmers markets, especially the important one here in Atlanta. And so this bill would try to put a little more business operations in those things, and hopefully we can get the legislature to put some more funding. Those facilities are aged and really need some new attention.
Yeah, so an authority would look at it. It may not go anywhere this time. You may need a little work on that bill.
We're going to work and try to work with Commissioner Harper. He's got some great ideas, and I've got some ideas, and Chairman Goodman, and so we'll push that, and hopefully in years to come, we'll have first-class facilities at our farmers markets, not only for our farmers, but mainly for our consumers as well. That's what I want.
I love farmers markets. They're great. So we're going to switch gears. Chairwoman Cooper, you have HB 470. It deals with something that had me doing some research. It's about candor in healthcare, and it's an acronym. As I understand, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality says it's a process that healthcare institutions and practitioners can use to respond in a timely, a thorough, and just way when unexpected events cause patient harm. So explain a little bit about what it is.
Well, to err is human, and we do have unexpected outcomes when we're dealing with patients. And in the past, we've sort of had a culture of blame and shame, and use the legal system to a great deal to try to correct or satisfy people that feel like they've been harmed. And this doesn't do away with that. It just tries to change it to a culture of working together and trying to, promote good health and find improved health care. And, candor, I like to say you're candid in candor. You're honest, you're truthful, you're straightforward about what's happened, and you try to find a prompt resolution instead of denying, delaying, and defending what has happened, which has been the culture in the past. And candor is a type, it's like mediation without getting the courts involved, but a way to bring the doctor or the hospital and the person that they feel like they've been harmed together, where they can be open and honest. And if the doctor made a mistake, say, I made a mistake, I'm very sorry about it. What can I do to help you make it better? Or the hospital in the same way, to find that resolution without a 3 to 5 year possible court case, but to do it in a more prompt and without such expense and tying up the legal system.
Yeah, so reducing all the litigation that might be involved. You had an example you told me about earlier, like somebody would pick up the wrong thing and maybe...
You might have something where somebody was in surgery and they needed some type of IV, a bottle, 1,000 cc's of saline, 1,000 cc's of something. And the nurse goes to the storage area, pulls out, a bottle of this and gets the wrong, 1,000 cc bottle, and it causes harm. What you want is an outcome besides helping the patient, that if they've been harmed, is to change the system. Why are those two different bottles stored so closely together where in a hurry a nurse might pick up the wrong bottle? Maybe they need to be on different sides of the room. But to change the system so the accident or whatever caused the harm doesn't happen again.
Okay, so we'll be paying attention to your candor bill. I learned a lot with that. When you first said, I want to talk about candor, I didn't know what that was all about. We've learned a lot. Chairman Dickey, let's get back to you. You have HB 89, would increase the weight of what truckers haul. Talk about that.
Yes, we have a real shortage of truck drivers in our state, and agricultural products are very perishable and cannot wait around for loads. So it would really just keep our state competitive with other outstanding near states, and so we can haul more product on some agricultural loads and less trips. It just makes sense to raise our limits just a small amount to be a little bit more efficient with our truckers.
Okay, I want to ask you about another bill. You'll support HB 452. It's sponsored by Chairman Clay Perkle, and that would prohibit foreign ownership of agricultural lands. Talk a little bit about that.
Many of us are worried across this country about our adversaries. And we have a short list that our government has put out there that are countries that are really our enemies. And we're noticing an uptick in farmland being bought throughout this country, and a lot of it near military bases. So this bill would start looking at that, restricting those type individuals, companies, and countries from buying up our farmland, which I think is the real national security issue for us. And so we're looking at that. That's what that bill.
There's a lot of support on that one. And one other bill I want to ask you about, HB 458, which deals with the sale of hemp and putting some guardrails around the
Correct.
sale of hemp.
Many CBD products are out there in the marketplace with and people are buying those, but they're not regulated and they're not tested. We don't know what strength they are, and so I think it's a bill that will give our consumers more confidence when they go to buy. We'll require testing on all those consumer end products made with hemp, and it's a great bill, and we really need it, and we're pushing in the Senate and as well over in the House as a bill.
Lots of good agriculture bills out there. I want to ask you just real quickly, the mental health bill, it came through your committee Tuesday, right?
It did, and it passed out.
And it seems to be going well and focusing on mainly making sure it's dealing with housing. Well, that's what's curious about it. We don't have a lot of time.
Well, it's what it is we need to know how many beds that we have. So it's really has a lot of studies in it so that we can come back. They're all due by the 1st of December. So that we can then move forward next year based on the real knowledge of how many beds we have. Are our beds being taken by people from Tennessee and other states because they pay more to have a psychiatric bed? We need to know that. So we know how many more beds we need, where we have empty beds, because it's always hard. If you're a parent and you have a child that needs to be admitted for a while for a few days or a few weeks of care, it's always difficult to find a psychiatric bed in this state, adult or child. And so we are going to do a study and see what's available, and then we can decide what we need to ask the legislature for going forward.
And when will that go to the House?
Oh, well, it's in the bill now,
Right.
is in rules.
Rules. Okay. All righty. Well, I want to thank you both for being here. It's time for wrapping up, but thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
That does it for Lawmakers today. We'll be back tomorrow for day 27. Good night.